paid sick time, retirement plans, or disability insurance. Hence, we continue to call them pink-collar jobs. Wage gaps begin for women in their 20s and 30s when they start child-rearing, for those who have children. Single women with families continue to experience more and deeper levels of poverty. Caregiving and high cost of childcare contribute to poor economic standing by interfering with women's ability to work full-time. And going for higher paying jobs, which we all want them to do, are hindered by jobs that require longer hours and offer less predictable schedules. Women are more likely to work part-time jobs, and cite family obligations as the number one reason for that. Nationally, women make up 76% of workers in the lowest wage jobs that have less flexibility and fewer benefits. And we all know if a child is sick, the child sometimes is sent to school sick, because mom has to make a decision. Do I send my child to school sick? Do I take the day and not be paid, and then wonder how I'm going to pay for rent or food? That is not a choice women should have to make in 2015. In Maine, in 2010, the wage gap based on gender was 79%, almost 2% higher than the national average. This means that for every dollar a man makes, a woman earns only 79 cents for the same or equivalent work. Back in 1988, when I was president of the Bangor Business of Professional Women's Club, we did a whole ceremony around this. In those days, it was 70 cents. In 27 years, we've gone up 9 cents. It's not funny, but you have to think about it. There are short and long-term consequences for women in Maine working for minimum wage and or low wages. In the short term, inequality of wages makes meeting basic needs more difficult and contributes to the rate of poverty in Maine and reliance on government programs. Now, y'all want people off welfare, right? Let's pay them so they can get off welfare and have a living wage. That might be nice. In the long term, Maine's wage gap for women accounts for losses of hundreds of dollars over a lifetime, including depressed Social Security earnings and other retirement safety nets. In 2009, it was estimated that more than a third, 38% of Maine's older population would be living at or below the federal poverty level, if not for Social Security. For women, the story is more dramatic. In 2010, while about 111,000 women received Social Security compared to 88,000 men, they received lower benefit rates than men and were more likely to report that as their only income. This means in Maine, women's economy stability is directly impacted by how old they are and how long they live. What? As women age, access to economic safety nets decrease compared to their male counterparts, and their safety nets are smaller. Women do live longer than men. They say about 5 years. And their need for income spans greater periods of time, and they tend to end up more in living in poverty. Just over half, 51% of Maine's 1.32 million residents are female. And women make up approximately 56% of Mainers 65 and over. And we want to get rid of Social Security? In Maine, the average Social Security for women is $11,000 compared to men about $15,000. Now, some have earnings or a pension. So for median income for women 65 plus and older and who live alone is just over $17,000. For men, it's around $26,000. This means Social Security benefits represent 65% of single older women's total income and only 58% of single older men. Women's retirement accounts holdings are negatively impacted by their employment participation trends and the gender wage gap. This is in part accounts for women's heavy reliance on Social Security benefits later in life, and yet Social Security income, as many of you know, is increasingly ineffective in helping women achieve and sustain economic stability. The most serious issue facing elderly women in Maine is lack of adequate income. I want to end with, as one woman who responded to this study, the 2015 report on the status of women and girls in Maine wrote, economic security for aging women in Maine would have to start with livable wage jobs earlier in life. Hence, minimum wage is an issue for women from 20 to when they hopefully have some kind of retirement. So is minimum wage an important discussion to have locally, statewide, nationally? You betcha. And I want to thank Joe Baldacci for bringing it to the forum. Thank you, Joe.